hear an hand up in the Google Meet. I don't know if there is some question or discussion. I don't know.
There is Lisa. Maybe now we can check the opportunity now that Laura is around as well. Maybe to introduce a little bit about what the ISOCS is, which is one of the organizations here, and explain a little bit about the activities. And this is one of the things that we plan to do in the roundtables at the very beginning. So that would be wonderful.
Perfect.
Okay, then thank you for this opportunity. Yes, today I'm here to represent ISOCS, although James, oh mama, I have a problem in opening the presentation now, aiuto. James could do that much better than me.
I don't think so today.
Yeah. And well, I'm just the humble vice president, while you have been president of
the longest serving president, by the way. I was the longest serving president.
Exactly, the longest president of ISOCS. I'm sharing the screen because I have a few slides, institutional slides that we usually use to introduce ISOCS. Can you see them?
Yes.
Great. So yes, ISOCS is one of the organizations supporting this event. And first of all, I would like to thank Carlos for organizing it. I can imagine this has been an incredible work, huge work. So really, thank you very much. I'm Laura Capelli. I am professor at Politecnico di Milano. My colleagues have been moderating this session. Many of my colleagues have been moderating this session. So I think you know about us and what we do. And I'm currently serving as vice president of ISOCS now. ISOCS is a scientific community that is putting together people from the academia and the industry who are interested and who are doing research or developing application or even final users of application of chemical sensing and artificial olfaction. So these are the main topics the ISOCS community is working with. ISOCS is a charity organization run by volunteers, and what ISOCS does is organizing workshops, schools, and I would say the main event organized by ISOCS is the ISOEN conference series. The very first one was in 1994, and we restarted with the frequency of one conference every 2 years in 2007. Then with COVID, we switched to we had a break of 3, so we restarted in 2022 with the conference in Portugal. We had one in 2024 in Dallas, and the next one, as we mentioned before, will be in 2026 in Chongqing. The abstract submission is already possible until the 5th of January. The conference will be from the 17th to the 20th of May in Chongqing. Feng Chuntian, I saw him connected before. Professor Feng Chuntian has been organizing a fantastic event. The venue is fantastic. Also, the hotel close to the venue is very nice. And I think this is really a very nice opportunity for people who are working in this sector to present what they are doing. It's very broad. It's not just focused on environmental monitoring. It's really on all type of applications of chemical sensing and artificial olfaction. Although, of course, environmental monitoring is one consistent part of these applications. So here you can see our past presidents with the picture of James in there. We have a story of very eminent people who have served as presidents of ISOCS, starting from Udo Vamier, Julian Gardner, Santiago Marco, Krishna Persaud, Giorgio Sbelvelieri, Corrado Di Natale, James Saverio, and Claude Romain, who is the current president. Besides the ISOEN conference, to which I really warmly invite you all, we have been organizing also very nice schools. We have been organizing some winter schools in Bormio, where we had the opportunity to ski together, besides of learning together. And we had a workshop very recently in Japan at the beginning of September dedicated to the, let's say, transfer of applications from the lab to the field. This is the team, the current team of people involved very actively in ISOCS. Professor Ancle Dromen as president, myself as vice president, Saverio De Vito from NEA, colleague of Ettore, as past president, and we have Dr. Yanxia Huberten, who is our secretary, and Jan Mitrovic, who is our very long-lasting treasurer. And presidents and vice presidents are changing every 2 years. We have also some other chairs who are really helping the society, which is a society which is acting worldwide. So as you can see, we have people from Japan, China, USA, really trying to advance the knowledge in the field of chemical sensing and e-noses all around the world. So just these few words to tell you to join us. Here you can see the website. If you are registering to one of our conference, you are automatically provided with a free membership for 2 years. And I really hope to see many of you in Chongqing next year. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present ourselves here. But then, of course, let me add, I'm here to represent ISOCS today. But of course, I imagine that you have mentioned the NOS conference as well. So next year will be very dense. And I shall also mention that you are invited to join us for the NOS conference as well, which will be in July next year. I don't remember exactly the deadlines for the paper submission, but should be somewhere in February, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And so
15. Okay.
So if you are not necessarily interested in sensors, but in environmental monitoring and control in a broader conception, including dynamic olfactometry, dispersion modeling, and not only odors, because the NOS conference is also dealing with VOC emissions and other type of atmospheric pollutants, it would be great if you could be there. I don't know if Marzo maybe has a presentation about the NOS conference. Great, thank you, Marzo. So I leave the word to you. But you have to turn on the microphone.
I know, but it's not so easy by having plenty of windows open. Anyway, we already give a brief presentation about the NOS conference. We already done a brief presentation about the AIDIC association, which is the chemical engineer one in Italy. Probably many of you already know the NOS conference, which is a pretty historic event about environmental odors. To recall, we are reaching 20 years of age, so we are in nearby of 18 years old guy of this environmental odor conference. The topics are plenty, are almost dealing with all the stuff which refers to the environmental odors evaluations, which are actually the ones which are also covered today, like, for example, the development in the regulation around the world, the different kind of the sampling and the source characterization, above all when we are dealing with complex emission situation. The chemical characterization of odors as a list and deepening about its difficulties. Some insights about the sensory measurements, different topics dealing with the gas sensing, so all the topics which have just been addressed by the last presentations. I've seen that this morning community participation was a pretty widespread topic. I didn't expect so much because I'm experienced. It's not so widespread tool in order to actually handle the odor problems, but still it is a very interesting tool, and this is a real topic also in the NOS 2026 conference. Toxicity, which is say a little bit a niche, but we want also to remind that we have also urgency of importance contribution about surely dispersion modeling, helpful in order to assess how odor emissions are able to reach the receptor, and finally, as different representation also of this morning, also in NOS conference, there will be a session dedicated properly to the odor emission control. Here I leave you the dates. I remember that if you want to submit an abstract which want to be published on the Chemical Engineering Transaction Journal, which is a Scopus indexed international and peer review journal, you have to respect the deadline here provided. If you are not interested in publication, you can register even later till May 20. And then there is the other dates. Please go to visit the website and take notes about the deadlines, because as you can imagine, organizing conferences is not so easy if you do not well respect the deadlines. So we have half an hour.
Thank you, Marcio. Carlos, are you still there? You here?
Oh,
Carlos?
Yes, I'm around. Yes.
Yes, because now I think it's time for your roundtable. If there is something to add, because of course we already exchanged. Unfortunately, I must leave now. So. Elisa, we were free to moderate the last session. So all the job is on your shoulder now. Okay, right. Let's start to the roundtable, and once more, congratulations, Carlos, for organizing such a huge event. You know? It's quite a crazy, but I know that you have this capability.
Well, you know, it's not me, it's you, not you and you and you. You are all amazing people that without you that wouldn't be possible. And this is a thing that I love of this community, that you are all fantastic people. That every time there is an idea, you are on there. I told you a day in advance if you could be moderating one session, and you were there. So it's something that I really appreciate, Jean-Michel and Elisa and Francesca, who also was, and Marcio also. I think he got 2 days, not longer than you. So this is possible only because of this amazing community that we have. This is the only way to organize a thing like this. Thank you to all of you, because you're great people. All right. Yeah.
You should know that at Politecnico di Milano, improvisation is part of our work every day. So having requests from one day to the next one is not something we are not used to. And I see that from the faces from Marcio and Elisa that they agree with me.
Okay. Bye-bye. See you in the next event.
Okay. So for the roundtable, please, the speakers, could you please turn on your camera? The more people is there here, the better. There is a list of topics.
Can I add one topic to the list, Carlos?
Yes. Okay, you can start the roundtable, because this is just a suggested list of topics. But if you have any other thing that you would like to talk about, go ahead.
Well, I would like just to throw a little stone into the lake, as we say. in order to start a little bit the discussion, because I think that in Europe, specifically, since this is the roundtable of the European session, there is something that is worth mentioning, which is the revision of the Industrial Emission Directive, which happened just in August last year. Bam! I start with an easy task, which has for the first time produced odor as a pollutant to be. So odor had already been introduced in many best available techniques documents, to be honest. So this is not completely new for many industrial categories, but with the introduction of odors among the pollutants to be considered in the Industrial Emission Directives, this widens even more the categories of plants which will be subjected to identifying their odor emissions, monitoring their odor emissions. And I think this is really an important milestone in Europe that has been happening. And I would be very grateful to hear some, I would be very happy to hear some comments from the people who are around the table, around this round table now about this. I don't know if this is just a suggestion for starting the discussion. And of course, we have other topics coming, but I think this is worth mentioning in this context.
Okay, that was a legislative milestone that we were looking for that for many years. And now is the time to do a regulation, European regulation on that topic, a real European regulation. And I don't know if this is going to happen. To be honest, I'm in contact with some people and they try to move things, but things are going slowly. There are regulations, as you know, in Italy, of course. There are regulations in Germany, and that's it. So people is following these two leads, let's say. Sometimes they follow old legislation from the Netherlands. But there is a thing here that we need to work more on this, to be honest.
I have also a particular scare about that, because just to brief mentioning.
Yeah.
Let me open the window. So let's say it's true that odor is directly mentioned within the definition of pollution, but my point of view is that the main task that say European companies and also environmental regulators have to face in the next years will be, as it is mentioned in the revision of the Industrial Emission Directive, is the listing of the single sources of odorous emission which have to be provided within the environmental permit. In the meaning that, as we have seen, the odorous emission may be in very different forms, may be plenty within the same industrial facilities, and are not limited only to the channeled ones. So by my scare, let's say, is that we will not be able to respect this approach properly due to a non-widespread knowledge about which may be all the kind of odorous emission, not only deriving from the channeled and classical sources.
Yeah, I understand that concern, but hasn't it practically always been the case that this was basically the job of odor consultants to determine that for the sites? So at least I think from the people that do this kind of consulting on site, this is some of their bread and butter services that they do, right? It of course requires an extensive knowledge about the site and the industry that you're dealing with. So it's not, let's say, I think your concern is related to the fact that this is not commonly available knowledge and available across a large area, but I think that experienced odor consultants can definitely help the companies to identify these. That's not something that would be completely new, but I may be biased, of course, because in Germany we have these regulations in place. So I don't want to speak on behalf of the.
No, I agree with you. The problem is that I don't know. Let's see. One point is to deal only with Germany and German facilities which are known to be odor producer. Another thing is the fact that we, let's say, the odor consultancy world have to face the entire amount of European industrial facilities. Okay, this is, let's say, I know that there is an expertise, surely, but the fact is that the request about this thing probably will raise a lot in the next future, and I do not know if, let's say, the odor expert communities will be able to be present in a correct level within this big, huge request that will be present by my hypothesis, of course.
Yeah, so probably I think that a lot of the companies that for which this will now apply are not aware that they are odor polluted or could be odor polluters in a certain way. So that would make it difficult because they are not, let's say, it's not publicly available knowledge whether this type of industry is okay. It does have odor sources. Yeah, that could of course be, let's say, a capacity limit in dealing with these requests. So yeah, in that regard, you're right.
Yeah, every time there is something new, it's a little bit scaring because at the beginning you have to somehow get used to that. But I think this is part of the game somehow. One of the topics on the list for moderators we received was, let's say, the job opportunities, global career opportunities for new generation. I think that maybe not now, maybe not immediately, but this may effectively be one of the reasons why jobs related to the topic of odor management could increase in some European countries. Maybe Italy and Germany are already quite, let's say, in a situation in which they have been dealing with regulations, with national regulation for the last years. So probably there is less margin for this type of growth. But I can remember Sofia Teixeira from Portugal speaking this morning and saying that in Portugal, for instance, this is not really existing yet. There are no regulations. Everything is that is done about odors is done on a voluntary basis. I mean, that Portugal is part of the European community, the European Union. So I imagine that they will need to somehow adapt themselves, which does not necessarily mean publish Portuguese regulation, but that Portuguese industries will have to start to further implement odor control, odor emission management, and so on. This is surely true. That is my thought a little bit in this context. So I can easily imagine some job opportunities to be created in this context within the industries themselves for people who are somehow managing these aspects, but also outside in consulting, for consulting services and laboratories providing this type of services.
Yeah, this is surely true, and maybe this, let's say, new introduction by the Industrial Emission Directive at the European level maybe also will be the opportunity to limit at least a little bit the gold plating, which actually is existing now within the European Union, because of course, if you are a multinational company and you want to operate in industrial in European community, it is not so robust properly with respect to the principles of European Union to have different environmental regulation, at least properly on the odor pollution point of view, among different countries. This is an exit poll of publication that we are working on. We have compared the different regulation of different countries in around the world, but with a focus on Europe, and luckily, hopefully, within a few weeks, you will be able to see how different European regulation may actually impact differently on the odor acceptability towards the presence of an industrial site. So this is another crucial point, which, in my opinion, it is present and sooner or later should be addressed by some kind of regulator.
This is a very good point, Marzio, that I wanted to raise as a further point. I mean, we have a European Union. We were able to unify some directives, but then if I travel from Italy to Spain, plugs are still different. So we were unable several decades after we built the European Union to unify the plugs, for instance, around Europe. Will we be able to somehow homogenize other regulations and other impact criteria around European countries, or is this just something that looks as impossible? What do you think?
It's undoubtedly a big challenge. Also, if you consider that in many countries, you do not even have nationwide unified regulations, but then, let's say, the federal states or the regions have their own kinds of implementation and limit values, etc. So that might still be a long way, but it is, of course, something that we all are actively working towards for many years now, to find some kind of a common ground that can be shared across all across all countries. But of course, if we see the non-odor related challenges that we have on European level that require a lot of effort to find some common ground, I think we just need to accept that it will not be much easier for these specific niche topics, right? It is always challenging to address so many individual expectations and ideas across such a large group of the population.
This is surely a point, let's say, even by the mentioned study, it was clear how in a plenty of different countries, the legislation is not unique even for the country itself. So surely this is a real point that has to be raised. But by my point of view, see, my ideal proposal would be that, let's say, I think that these achievements can be made if the other community, which almost today can be here well represented, if this other community will be able to be actually present and reach the ability to talk with the environmental ruining the scissors, maybe we can have the chance to reach this point, which, to my point of view, is very important, above all, because we are dealing with plenty of limiting stuff deriving by the European Community approach. And in this way, by my point of view, a unique system, a unique legislation, a unique approach to the acceptability limits must be found. But the fact is that we have to be able to be enough, let's say, active and sharp with our own environmental legislation and politicians also, to push towards this direction and maybe let them to go on European table, and maybe to help also to go to the European tables with our help, in order to try to fix this uniformity and try to have a unique approach, which, let's say, theoretically should already be done, but actually it is not.
Maybe as there was the topic raised of job opportunities and how we get younger people to pick up the job, I think this is something that also from our personal perspective within our company, we see that what we see is that a lot of the people that we also see at the conferences and in these kind of formats are of course working in this field for many years already. So if you go to the conferences like the NOS, etc., then it's almost like an alumni reunion, right? Because you see all the people that you know for 20 years again, and it's just like you also experience it here, a very like a family-like collaboration for the same cause that we all share somehow. And what we see is that, of course, we need to somehow find the new people that become experienced experts in this field, because I can say from personal experience in our company, people like Franz Vossen, who has been working in this field for 40 years, etc. My brother, who have all been working also on the standardization of dynamic olfactometry. These people are now getting closer and closer to retiring, and what keeps them from retiring is basically that they still have this drive and motivation to contribute to this. But I think it is very essential that we find ways on how to make it attractive and interesting for younger people to become the new experienced people in here, right? And at some point to follow up on the likes of Laura and Jean-Michel and so on. So I think that is something that we need to think about how we can achieve that. I don't know, Laura, if you can say something about to which degree environmental odor management is already part of the university courses. Does it have a role?
Yes, this is exactly what I was thinking while you were speaking. At Politecnico di Milano, as you can see, besides myself and Selena, who are now quite not close to retirement yet, in the field. I don't know if Mark there is already thinking, hopefully, or maybe when do we get rid of them finally?
No comment, no comment.
No, exactly.
But as you can see, we have, Carmen is also here with me, we have quite a large number of young people. You've seen Luca speaking today. Francesca is one of our youngest assistant professors, and plus we have a lot of PhD students, because yes, since several years we have introduced this topic within our courses. There is one course held by Selena, which is dedicated to Odor Science and Engineering. Marcia and I have a course which is called Environmental Impacts, in which we dedicate some of our lectures specifically to introducing the topic of odor, highlighting that the Industrial Emission Directive has changed and highlighting these new job opportunities and speaking about odor dispersion modeling. And then also Marzio has another course speaking about abatement systems, and he also is often mentioning odor abatement as part of, as one of those pollutants that you really have to think about when you are designing some sort of end-of-pipe treatments. And we are bringing that over and over again in the courses that we held. So in our universities, it's really something that is helping us forming new generations and passing them the message that this is something important, and this is something that is growing and that is possibly offering job opportunities. It would be great if that approach could be also adopted in other universities, in other countries. And I think this is one, well, not the only one, but surely one of the possible ways of growing new generations to this odor management problem. So I don't know if in Jean-Michel University there are some dedicated courses, but I think this is something that we could try to work on as different communities, maybe as IDIC, maybe also as ISOCS, to bring maybe some of, not an entire course maybe, but some lectures dedicated to this topic within our courses for the people that are in the academia, of course.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that is something that we definitely should try to focus on. How could that be done, or maybe discuss what kind of courses you are currently offering and make that offer to other universities that are working in these fields, to see whether through guest lectures or people from the respective countries, whether there are experts that could do this kind of lectures, because I think it is important to make this as a topic very aware to anyone who is working in this field, because of course most of the time people often let's say accidentally come into companies that deal with this specific niche topic, and it's basically, of course, you get your toolbox when you come from university, but then you basically have a second level of education that happens on the job when you start to understand all these standards and learn about the practical implications all of this has. So I think that would be very beneficial also in terms of getting young people to work in this field and to become experts, if there was, let's say, a unified set of topics that could be already brought to them during university.
Yes, I 100% agree. I think we are reaching the end of the time of this roundtable, unfortunately.
There is one last thing I wanted to ask. And it is, we have to stay 1 minute before we pass the baton, but there are many experts here in EUTs, equipment under test, or instrumental odor monitoring systems, or e-noses. At this stage, I think there is only a regulation in the world that uses this kind of systems to in a regulation in a way that, for example, in this country is France, in which you can use an e-nose. You set it up in the field, and this way you reduce the number of times that you have to do your dynamic olfactometry. But I haven't seen more approaches, and we are all working on a standard to try to have reliable systems, which is wonderful. So do you think this lack of regulations on this in the use of these systems is because there are no standards, or there are no methodologies to make them reliable, or you think we are not at this stage yet? Because I haven't seen the people here, the e-nose people, speaking about this.
Well, this is a tricky question. I think there are several aspects here that should be considered. One is surely regulations, standardization, most of all. And I think in this context, the Working Group 41 is trying, and you know with how many difficulties and internal discussions to somehow come out. And again, I see Christoph laughing, and I guess they know, the reason why. Anyway, we've been trying to somehow come out with a standard. This for sure will help, at least in having a common basis to compare, IOMS outputs, because at the moment it's a jungle, and you never really know what is coming out, if it's really reliable or not. And I would say that unfortunately, in many cases, it is not. My experience is with different types of instruments is you listened to the presentation of Carmen before. You know that we've been working a lot on trying to use algorithms to correct humidity and to correct drift. This is typically not coming with as default with commercial instruments, and this typically gives you problems after a few months. So if your idea is to maybe do some short monitoring, then maybe that's fine. But if you're willing to realize some installations that last, I would not say forever, but at least for a couple of years, which would be great already, you need to take these factors into consideration. And this is, so without standards, let's somehow forcing people to compare their outputs with some benchmarks, this may be very difficult. So reliability is still an issue, in my opinion, and standardization could help. I can tell that in Italy, some plants have received the requests from the competent authority to realize such monitoring system in their environmental permit. I should also comment on that, although I'm happy about that, because of course this made me work and also increase our knowledge in this field. But when the request arrived, I do not really think we were so ready to fulfill it. So now I feel we are a little bit more, but still I know that there are several challenges that have to be taken into account. Considering also that what is not sometimes clear is that what is really expensive there is not the instrument itself, but making it work, for which you really need to have experts around who are able to train these instruments, validate them, and make them work properly. So I don't think this really answered the question, because it put even more confusion in that. But I think that, yes, standardization could help, but this is not the only thing that we need to really make it possible to work in these directions. That there are still some still some efforts to do. Also to make sure that the people that are working well are recognized because they're working well, and not just as more expensive than others. And this is another point that I think should be taken into account. Sorry, I spoke to you.
Yeah, no problem.
So, Carlos, do you think it's going to be resolved before me and Jean-Christophe retire?
I say I hope so. I hope so. We'll see how it goes, but I hope so. Yes, yes.
The university just emailed to me a early leaver scheme.
Yeah, that would be. All right, Odor raised his hand.
Yes, I'm optimistic. Anyway.
Yes, only a few words. I think that it's necessary to introduce a new metric standard. That is to say, as Jean-Christophe said before, an artificial odor unit. If we are able to introduce this new standard, new metric standard, we can emancipate from dynamic olfactometry, because dynamic olfactometry is our problem. We cannot, we use dynamic olfactometry as a reference, but this is impossible to make a standard if we continue to use dynamic olfactometry as a standard.
Unfortunately, it's not a problem. It's good to have a tool. In the past, we didn't have any tool, so we have to be optimistic. All right. So now we have the ceremony, a very special ceremony. So for the speakers, thank you for coming. You can go now. Thank you. You did a great job. And now you're released. You can go out and rest a little bit. For the moderators, there is a small ceremony. So if you could stay here just a moment. Thank you very much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, the moderators, you stay here because there is a very nice ceremony here. I think that Marcho found our button that we are passing here. Look, is here, is there, and I don't know, it's going from Europe and it's arriving. Where is this arriving? It's arriving to Ademir.
Right through the sea. Yep, I guess.
Yes, through the way to
with
Ademir.
a super strong throwing.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it changed the color in the way.
Change the color, yes.
It is the speed.
Doppler effect.
Yeah. All right. So
Awesome.
how did it go? Did you enjoy the European session? Do you have a good time? Yes.
I didn't expect it to, let's say, be so relaxed after 6 hours of continuous discussion about odor topics and abatement and sensor stuff. Still, with this true marathon, I see that it was a pleasure to be here to discuss with all of you. Thank you for another time to Carlos for this idea and all the effort in the organization. And now it's the time of South America, I guess.
Yes.
Or the entire America.
Yes. First, we start with North America, and then we move on to. First we start with South America, and then we move on to North America. All right.
How are you going, America? Everything is going good?
All good here. It's good to be here with you guys. I could come at the end at the middle of the panel discussion. I was watching in YouTube before I joined the meeting here, and you guys did a great job. I am so happy to be joining here. And then you pass us a big mission to keep carrying on. Congratulations.
Take it as an honor. So don't worry.
All right. So thank you very much, Europeans. You can go. Thank you. You passed the button, and now the lemon is in on the South American side.